my name is Lindy Vaughn, owner of Studio V, where we build confidence through creativity. Welcome.
Welcome to a congregation of collaborations with conversations hosted by the storyteller.
I don't feel like telling you how I feel. Like, when I feel like telling you, I will. Like, telling you when I feel what I feel will tell you anything about who I truly am. I don't feel like how you feel. I feel like you don't like me, and that makes me feel like, why? I feel like, why is my feeling? Why do I feel like this? I feel like this is how I feel all the time. Well, it's like how I feel. At this point, I'm in between what's fake and what's real, and every day is a different story in the same box. You know how Instagram has hearts, but they feel awfully like a like? But even when you receive one, it makes it hard to feel the love. Is a heart even real if it takes just 2 taps to keep it beating? When I was a kid, I drew 2 boxes on a manila sheet of paper and popped the question to a girl before we got picked up from school. It said, "Do you like me?" Getting older has helped me realize that it wasn't that she had the wrong answer, which was no. It was that I asked the wrong question. So I'll let my nephews know. Instead of asking if she likes you, ask yourself if you're ready to care for her feelings more than you've ever cared for your own. I'll tell them to forget her story and pursue her soul. Like a love story, I am every petal on the flower being pricked with a statement. She loves me not. Sometimes I don't feel like telling you how I feel, like I don't feel like I like myself enough. Then when I like myself, I feel like everyone's trying to make something from it. I'm confessing this to you. I'm confessing this for us and to myself, that I love you always and regardless, that I'm growing, blooming from the skin that I was planted with, like it or not. There we go. What's up?
Welcome, Mr.
Welcome.
Have a seat.
All righty. Let me get this. Oh.
Welcome. This is Storyteller. Of course, I'm the storyteller. Presented by Active. We are currently here in Studio V, sponsored by Lindy Vaughn. Thank you. We have Mr. Dunn here. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself. Great guy. Thank you for being our special guest this afternoon.
Hey, thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a good one. Go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
I've been looking forward to having a conversation with you since we had our first conversation. You know, It's always good to have more conversations. Right. So about me, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, a marketer, a sales coach, a podcaster, just creative professional is how I kind of like to say it. And I love helping people grow. I love helping people get from where they are to where they want to be, if that's a business or an individual that's on a pursuit of something. So that's what I love to do.
Okay, cool. All right, tonight we got a good topic, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about politics. A lot of people sheer and run away from politics, don't really like to discuss it. It can be an area that is timid and can be very hot. However, I am a person that firmly believes when you're dealing with intellects like Aaron Dunn and myself and many other people, I believe that the intellects are the people that hold the primary responsibility that should be talking about politics. Politics are shaping the world, whether we realize it or not. In this latest political season, in this political climate, of course, you and I know exactly how hot it is. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are not really wanting to talk about it. And I think mainly because we find ourselves with so many different political views. Mm. One of the things I love about poets is regardless of our political view, we tend to still have the overall goal, which is to cleanse the heart and mind of the people. Mm. So, we're going to talk about politics. One of the things I want to ask you, one of the many questions, and this is an open forum, there is no right or wrong. I'm not going to get mad at you, you're not going to get mad at me. We're going to get to the bottom of what needs to be gotten to the bottom of. What do you think makes a good politician?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think a great politician or a good politician is somebody that people can aspire to be like. I think a great politician is somebody who has a vision that they can share with other people. I think that a great politician is somebody who is close to the ground, has their ear to the ground to what's important for the people that they represent, and approaches, it solves problems for those people on the behalf of those people in a variety of ways in the best course of how they've made their promises to those individuals that they represent, and also keeping in mind those people that might not agree with them. So somebody who can work across the aisle, keep those people in mind, and then of course realize the vision that they've put forth.
Okay. Do you, when you said that politicians kind of should, those are the people that whatever you promise your people, this is what you should adhere to and try to promote. When you have, let's just take for the state of America, which this could apply to many other different continents, when you have so many different people in America with so many different views and needs and wants, what do you think would be a good fiber line, a line that should go through all of them, regardless whatever political party or whatever religious affiliation or even whatever cultural affiliation? Mm-hmm. What do you think that one line should be that's streamed between all of them that we all would agree on?
I mean, the founders, if we're talking about America specifically, said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mm-hmm. I think is really that through line that everybody should be able to agree on. Mm-hmm. And I think that in terms of also kind of the Constitution, like there's, the Constitution and the framers created such a beautiful document. That's why America's so successful now, in that, it's about, you achieving your dream, essentially, that and creating that opportunity for everybody to participate in the pursuit of their own dream and not have anything keep them from realizing it, provided they do the things necessary to make that happen. And of course, always be legal. You know what I mean? So I think that that through line should be individual freedom and that pursuit of equal opportunity for everybody.
Have you been hearing the jargon about that the Constitution needs to be done away with?
I haven't really heard that. I'm sure there's people that say that.
Do you think the Constitution still has a place in the current America that we live in? I understand originally when our original forefathers in 1706, when they came up with it. Do you think that now where we are in 2020, are we still in the same America? Do you think that maybe the Constitution does need to be revised to reflect what's going on in 2020 America?
Yeah, so I don't think that the Constitution should be thrown out. Because I believe that it's still serving Americans today in a lot of beneficial ways. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the Constitution or any founding document is about, okay, well, here are the things that the foundation. It's about having a strong foundation. And I'm not a constitutional expert, like you said. I'm a poet and a marketer and that kind of guy. But at the same time, I think that the Constitution's still serving people, and if we think that there should be some changes made to the Constitution, there's a pathway to do that, and it's hard to do that for a reason, because we don't want to have an instance where the foundation, that foundation is continually changing. That's called an earthquake. You know what I mean? So I think it's important that we always look at whatever our founding document is, and that foundation, we approach that with great fear in terms of, like, you know, biblical fear, like the fear of God, right? Like where we have a great respect. I mean, fear in the context of a respect and a reverence, and we approach it as such. And then we go through the processes that we've already got set up to make those amendments, to make those foundational changes. I think you run into a big problem if you encourage the idea of, hey, let's rip out everything and start anew, especially when you're talking about 300 million people.
Absolutely. Now, in the 300 million people, what you and we're not Constitution experts or whatever, but I am an individual that does happen to love America. I am a black woman. I am extremely patriotic. Inside of my patriotism, though, I am aware enough to note that when our founding forefathers did come up with this great idea of a country that would allow anybody from any other country to come and build themselves and make themselves their own person, that in that same doctrine, that there is absolutely no room or space for people of color, for black people. We weren't considered people. So when that document exists, then it's almost like a document that exists that has nothing to physically do with me. And that document, I'm still seeing as property. Although as patriotic as I am in that particular document, I'm still seeing as property. What is your opinion on black people being noted not as persons in the American Constitution, but as property? Does that not need to be fixed or somehow changed?
Well, I think that if we look at, like, the amendments and things like the Emancipation Proclamation, and I don't know what the specific line that refers to black people as property. Of course, it's easy to be against that. Like of course not. Nobody should be considered as property, especially if they're people, right? So, you know, we did abolish slavery, and that's in our past. It's an ugly, dark scar on our past that we continue to wrestle with. So I think that, you know, it's there, and as much as we want to eradicate it from our history, it is a pivotal part of history that shouldn't ever be forgotten, because there's a lot to learn about that in terms of how we talk to people and how we can relate to somebody else's life experience even though we don't know anything about them. And so, like, I think that, like, erasing it from a document doesn't necessarily erase the problem and the truth of what happened. And so I think we've taken the right steps to ensure that black people are treated as people, even though we don't see that every day, and there's still problems with that, and there's terrible people out there that advocate for the opposite for whatever reason. The thankfulness that I have is that is a extremely small minority of people, and I'm hoping that with, like, my generation, with younger generations, it becomes more and more commonplace that is a stark part of our history and not at all part of our future, and that we continue to progress in that way. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers your...
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm going to delve a little further, and we may be getting off a topic, but still within the realm of politics. There is a wide range movement to remove statues and monuments in certain places all over America. What is your take on that?
My take on statues and monuments would probably be, I won't say, like, I think, I'll give you an example. So one thing that a lot of the statues and monuments started coming, when that started to come about, you know, we started to hear about more of that history locally. more than ever, because people are becoming more aware of it. And in Mineola, there's a graveyard that up until just a few months ago was segregated. There was a chain link fence that there was white people buried here, black people buried here. And they took down that fence not too long ago. Obviously that needed to happen long time ago. So like, for one, I would say that it's a good thing that we start to kind of re-examine what we think about what are we memorializing and why. And so that's one part of it. And I think that another part is, I think it should be taken case by case in terms of, should every person who took part in that particular era and piece of time, like we should really examine who those people are, and take it on a case by case basis. Because there's one thing, again, it kind of comes back to education. It's like, what can we learn from this person? And are we learning from this person and like figuring out like who they are, and are we celebrating everything this person was? You know what I mean? So to me, I think that there is a time and place that you do remove monuments like that might glorify somebody with a checkered history and a past. But you and I both know that everybody has a checkered history and past based on where they were, and based on all that kind of stuff. So I think it just depends on who that person is and where they sit, where that monument sits, that kind of thing, and what the context is around that thing. I think the problem is, the emotional culture that we have, and that's like, oh, that guy participated in slavery back in the day and he was a leader, within that context. And so let's, you, me, and 10 of our friends go knock it down. I think that is a problem. We should not do that. There's a process and a procedure and a thing, there's a way to do it in a constructive way to make it less about destruction and more about education and reframing the type of conversations and the type of people we want to glorify in our culture.
Right. And see, you're a little bit more mature in your thought on it than I am, because I don't believe any of them have to come down.
Really?
No, I don't. Excuse my language, but I don't give a damn if any of them come down. What I do give a damn about is the full story.
Yeah.
Because during the Civil War, there were so many black leaders that did wonderful things that I don't see a statue on. Right. You don't have to pull down Robert General Lee, I don't care. But he rigged someone else up that was also a part of that entire story. I don't believe that you should erase history. Leave it as it is, just tell the full part of it.
Yeah.
That way when the next person is coming up and evolving, they have a better choice to be able to see and make sure that they're on the right side of history. I think when I think we use statues and little things like that to disguise what we need to really get to, which is the matters of the heart of why we can't see each other, not just of people as color, but of light beings, of people that are here to do a job that's bigger than just this world. And once we see that we are people designed not just for America, not just for the continents, not just for Earth, not just for that realm, that galaxy, but more and more. And I think until we get there, we'll use little things like, oh, take this down and remove the Constitution, etc., so that we can't get to what we really need to be dealing with.
I mean, I think you articulated that better than what I would, but I feel your point. Like that's the thing. That's kind of what I was trying to hint at. Is that what more can we maybe, like, it's one thing to take away something that's really terrible. Like nobody wants a statue of Hitler or whatever. But it's like if we can add something to tell a broader and more true story, like you said, I think that's great.
Yeah. Okay, so policies. Of course, we know there's a lot of policies, whether they're on the local front or on the national front, that definitely need to be changed. Do you have any ideas, maybe new, fresh ideas that we, the people, could use to create some policies that would fit us all, where it doesn't just seem like it's for one sect or one person? Do you have any idea on policy making that you might want to implement, even though we're not politicians, but maybe someone out here is wanting to be a politician, and maybe you could be thinking some of fresh ideas?
Man, policy making, like on a government level, or what do you think?
Local, national. For me, politics start in my community. You know, and it could be a simple policy of, hey, we party tonight, pick your fucking trash up in the morning. You know, it just depends on whatever it is what policy you need to take you to the next level, you know? And so I don't know, you know, what I'm looking for. What I do know, Aaron, is that the state of the people is in a bad spot. Although we living in all these great times with technology and things are moving forward, I think the hearts of men are getting darker. And so just whatever policy may be able to keep us open to each other and not so much to what we see on TV or on these screens that we have in our hand or devices in our head or implants even under our skin.
I think a good policy would be like media literacy. You know, like maybe in the educational system. I'm self-educated. You know, I graduated high school. I visited college, and you know, then dropped out and visited again. That's how my relationship with college is. I visited, and then I went fishing one time. You know what I mean? And then it never like really all came together for me. And I think it's partly because I had to jump through, you know, particular hoops that I wasn't particularly skilled at or interested in, and that kind of led to my downfall. But I say, you know, so in the scope of education, what I would like to see is, you know, media literacy for any individual that's, you know, young or old, to understand what the media landscape is, so they can understand what is a salacious headline, what is maybe something that is only telling part of the truth, but only to the benefit of the person telling the story. You know what I mean? So people could more, you know, discern better like what the information is that's hitting them in the face all the time, because we know from, you know, I mean, there's kids out there with phones that have access to unlimited amount of information. So I think media literacy is something that's really important to me, is that we just need people to be better educated on how to read the internet, you know, wherever it may be coming from, and to do the right work on the inside to make good decisions for themselves and not get caught up in the wind of the moment, the wind of the culture that, you know, is a lot of times emotion, you know, filled with emotion, and then takes us to a place that we never really intended to go. So I think that comes to mind. And then another thing that comes to mind is like, and maybe not like a hard policy, but kind of also in the education field, is like, you know, I grew up in a small town, local community church, and that was fantastic for my upbringing. And I see a lot of people, you know, it's more and more in our culture to say no to the church and no to that, to really just religious life at all, and see no value in it. And I think that's really just not good. And it's not that I want everybody to believe a certain way. It's not that at all. I think there's a place in the public square for a Christian church, a Jewish, you know, synagogue, a Muslim mosque, or you know, none of the main religions really, but I benefited so much from a local community place for us to have discussions about things that are larger than us, and it taught me so much about how to read and interpret and make sense of who I am in relation to the world. So many things that I've carried with me for a long time. So I don't know how that relates to policy, but I think that, you know, I'd like to see more openness and tolerance from everybody when it comes to how do we approach life in a spiritual life. And then I think one more thing would be how we approach like financial life. I didn't know anything about sales and marketing before I was in a position where I didn't have any money, and I was like back to the wall type scenario, and it was do or die for me, you know. And at that point, that critical exchange, it was, if this is gonna happen, I'm gonna have to make something happen. I'm gonna have to learn new skills. I'm gonna have to, you know what I mean? So I think that, you know, the education system says do this, do that, do the other thing, and you're gonna be good, but it's not necessarily reality. Where we need to have a better understanding of what that reality is, and like doing more skill development instead of read this, take the test, pass the test. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree. Media literacy, financial education, and you also said if we had more small, like church, like intimate kind of sort of settings. And I agree with that. When I didn't go to church often, but when I had a pretty good church relationship, I could drop in and out, and all the ancestors in my family, you know, they were God-fearing women, etc. So even if you wasn't in the building, it was always a church-like setting. So from that, I gained too a lot of how to deal with other people, how to know to kind of be able to tap into the hearts of men, even though it may not be what you're talking about, but if you listen to others, that little private, intimate setting teaches you so much that you will need when you go out into your adulthood and meet people of different sects and societies with different thoughts and whatever. And so oftentimes they tell us don't confuse religion and politics. What I've always noted, for me, religion and politics have always kind of been running the same stream. Why I say that is when new policies or different types of politics, for instance, I didn't have a problem with Donald Trump. Now from the day one, not to the end. He was never my problem, not the rhetoric, not the tone, not the things he said, because I was able, before he even got into that position, to be able to understand people, what it is that they really trying to say, and get down to the heart of what it is, you know. And so I think if we did have more of a setting where maybe church or maybe community, or where people could sit down once a week and be able to just talk it out, I think that would make politics a whole new different world. I think religion should be poured more into politics, not in the position of tyranny or we're not looking for no totalitarianism place or nothing like that. What I'm saying is just to be able to consider one another. Do you think that religion should be included more in politics, possibly?
I mean, politics tends to ruin just about everything. It seems like, you know. So I wouldn't say that like it needs to be infused more. I think that what I'd like to see with like religion and politics is just, man, I think that everybody's inclined to believe what they believe, and they should. And I think everybody should have a particular belief system and value set. And people should also align that belief system and value set to kind of the highest order. You know what I mean? Like I want to know, you know, if you're going to be serving me in government and that kind of thing, I kind of want to know where your frame of reference is. So I think that should be talked about. And I think it's less about religion, it's more about belief system. Like, what is your belief system, and how do you approach problems, and how do you approach people, and that kind of thing, and relate to people. So, I think it's more about like having an understanding of who you are and how forthcoming are you with that. And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from on it.
Yeah, and look, and it's not complicated. If you are a person that believes everybody should breathe fresh air, then it doesn't matter what political affiliation you have, the EPA needs to be regulated. Certain things just kind of go together. You want your air regulated, you want to make sure that your air is clean, everybody has to have air. If everybody is automatically should have a night of good, fresh sleep, then of course you know that you're going to need patrols to make sure that that sleep happens. You're going to need proper housing so kids can sleep properly. It seems to me that politics is just so blown all out of just simple people should have, like you said earlier, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And under those three things, if you believe that at the core, that has nothing to do with politically, that's just not even a religious affiliation, just a spiritual base, then every other topic past those three should come back to those three, and we should be able to conclude on it. Just those three. And so I think politics has gotten to be such a machine that we have start letting the machine work us instead of us working the machine.
Yeah. I think, I agree with you there that, you know, one thing that we did see with Donald Trump is that one thing that showed me is that anybody can be president.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
for damn sure.
We can get anybody in there, really.
Right.
And like when Kanye met with Trump, I was like, anybody can do anything they want. Obviously, you know, like it's available, the opportunity's there.
Right.
So like I think about like how can we as people like become more aware of that and empower other people to look, you can do it. You can make a difference. You can make an impact. Like locally, Julie Gobble ran against our incumbent representative for around here. First Democratic nominee to do it in like over a decade.
Right.
For whatever reason. Now this is a Republican stronghold, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It just showcases that, look, it's possible. She should be able to do it. She has the right to do it. She has a particular skill set and ability to do it. Give other people more options.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't always have to be red and blue. It's just a matter of how effective can you be at connecting with other people and understanding what their needs are. And then the votes come afterward.
How far do you think politically we are from the possibility or the actuality of a one world order?
I don't think we're close to that.
Do you think a one world order is even possible? Do you think it will be tangible?
No, I don't think so, because I mean it's hard enough for 300 million people to be governed. I think you're talking about 7 billion, in one way. I think there's too many languages, there's too many factors.
Do you think that the people will surrender their rights and privileges under the realm of fear, which would inevitably lead to that?
I think so, but I think people do that anyway. I think there's a lot of people who aren't realizing their own potential because they're scared anyway. I think that like a one world order is not going to be a president or a government or a one guy. It's going to be an attitude and an idea about how people interact with themselves and interact with others. So I think the real one world order is really just a behavior and a belief system that individuals have. And unfortunately, like if you don't have somebody to look to help you get out, or you don't have somebody right beside you to help you get out of that and break those, those frameworks that you've got, then you're gonna get stuck and you're gonna feel that way. So I think that you're not gonna have a governmental takeover. It's gonna be an idea. It's going to be a spiritual takeover. You know things about the word takeover, I think.
Right. Okay. Red herring. Red herring is something, especially a clue, that is or is intended to be misleading or distracting. Do you think that the coronavirus is the red herring of 2020? I know that's loaded.
That's a loaded question.
That's so damn loaded.
I like that question.
That's so damn loaded.
A red herring of 2020. I think it very well can be. That's a great question. Because here's one thing I know. Coronavirus has killed a lot of people. Coronavirus has made a lot of people sick. Coronavirus doesn't kill everybody.
Amen.
And coronavirus hasn't made everybody sick.
Right.
So I think that, what with coronavirus, we're talking in just about December, happened in March. We didn't know anything about it. I think that the more that we know about it, the better equipped we are to handle it, all that kind of stuff. I think that I don't think it's like a global distraction based on what a government's trying to do to us necessarily. Because I don't look to a government to save me or help me.
I know that's right.
I'm taking responsibility for me.
Also, me too.
So if you let it become a red herring to everything that you've got going on, you probably got more stuff going on than just that. Right. You would have looked for anything else to make that difference. Because I think people will use coronavirus, people use Trump in office or Biden in office as a reason to do whatever, or to say, I don't get this now for whatever reason. So I don't think it's particularly the red herring of 2020. It's definitely the thing that we've had to pay attention to, and it's influenced everybody in different ways. But I'll tell you, when coronavirus happened and started, and it was like, oh, we're gonna get locked down. I decided that, well, I'm gonna work out 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to continue doing everything that I decided I was going to do this year,
Yeah.
and I might have to do it differently, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm on a pursuit. I'm on a quest, you know. So I think it really depends on the individual and the people that are around that individual, and that's why, you know, it's important to really pay attention and be aware of all that and set yourself up for success.
And that's how poets answer a loaded question. That's how poets answer a loaded question. All right, the last topic is ignorance is bliss in relation to politics. What I've noticed is just surveying, verbally talking to several people around me, people that I have encounters with. When it do come to matters of politics, they will say, oh, I don't keep up with it. Oh, I don't know. And I always have this feeling of like, damn, like, are you alive? I'm not saying you got to be a politician, you need a 2020 sticker. Mm-hmm. I'm asking you to be alive and to be aware. Mm-hmm. Do you think the ignorance is bliss on the subject of politics is so that people don't have to deal? Should we have a state of blissfulness when it comes to politics, or should we participate?
That's a good question. I think that I'll tell you this. For me, I always, you know, I try to keep my toes in the water, my ankle in the water a little bit, just depending on what's going on, just so I have a little bit of clarity of like what's moving and how is it going. However, there are times where if I go on vacation and I'm not paying attention to the news and the politics of the day, I feel a lot better. So I think there's a balance that everybody's got to have of at least a little bit of awareness of what's going on, especially locally, to the things that will directly impact them the most, and then kind of have a certain level of distance as far as, you know, that runs parallel to that governmental head's distance to you. You see what I'm saying? So like the president, pretty far away from me. There's a lot of decisions that he makes that are influenced by a lot of other things that are not necessarily related to me. Yeah. But I do know the mayor. Right. I can call the mayor. Right. You know, so it's one of those things where everybody should have a level of engagement. Everybody should vote. But at the same time, if you don't know who to vote for and you don't feel proud to vote for somebody, or you are only voting because people tell you to vote, that's not a good reason to vote. No. To me, it's like, it should be your vote. It should be your vote. So, and if you still eat mayonnaise in your cereal, don't vote. Like, I am hard. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of my angle on that. Is just everybody. It's important. And everybody should understand how important it is and be aware of what's going on. But you have to know what you're doing when you use it. You have to know what you're doing when you use it. Everybody should do it. Everybody got the right. And try to get try to be as balanced and real as possible. Yes. And let it be of your own volition, of your own heart, your own, not what somebody told you to do. You know, this political season was so intense. And I already don't have very many friends because I am a poet and I am vocal and I'm different. Mm-hmm. And so during this political season, I've probably lost a few of the 5 I had left just because politics, the political whole scheme of it, wanted to push me a certain way. Like, oh, because you're this, you should do this. And so what made the vote so valuable, which has always made the vote valuable, is that you should utilize your vote to vote from your heart, not from the people in your home, not from the people at your school, but from your heart, what makes you who you are. Past that vote, what the American people needed to know was that past November the 4th, you were still going to be a person who had to live here. And that vote should have been cast based off a person that you were going to be November the 5th. And so that doesn't have nothing to do with you being a Democrat or a Republican or a Green Party or a Joe Jurgensen supporter. It had nothing to do with that. It's about whatever you do in life, whether it's casting your vote or picking the short end of the stick. Do it all with the best on the inside of you and cast it with the best intentions. Tonight's conversation was again brought to you by Active. We are in Lindy Vaughn's studio. Thank you, Lindy, for that.
the great Aaron, Dunn, poet, author, extraordinaire. Thank you for coming, man. I appreciate this conversation more than you know spiritually. And we as humans, we have to start sitting down and talking to each other more. So I thank you for coming, and I thank you for being on this platform.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Y'all make sure that you stay tuned. Remember, politics is about the people. Don't let the politics make you. Make sure you make the politics. Thank y'all for tuning in. Welcome to the Takeover. Hoorah.